Hey, hey, family. I'm Greg, your co host, who's pretending to be your main host. And
I'm Mama, the main host of Mama Unplugged podcast show. Thanks for joining and listening in to this show, whereas we will focus on fun, interesting, and sometimes, dare I say, controversial conversations, combined with the Word of God that helps navigate to drive this present called life.
if you like what you hear, click the follow and enable notifications so you will already have updates to the newest episode. You can write a review and let us know if you are enjoying or perhaps not enjoying the show. Also, you can follow us on Facebook at Mama Unplugged. That's one word, Mama Unplugged, and our website, www.mommaunplugged.com. And again, that's one word, MommaUnplugged.com. There, you can leave a comment, and perhaps your comment will be peppered into our conversations. Now, let's get to the show.
Let's get started. Enjoy.
Hey, y'all, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Mama Unplugged. Well, today, Mama is not going to be involved with us on this show today. I got the okay to go ahead and do the show without her, only because she wasn't feeling so well. Oh, I know. She's getting better, though. She is getting better. But on this day, we are going to invite a special guest who is actually going to, put be in her position. He's going to be and I gave a clue, he's going to be a host, a special host, because as you all know, I'm your co-host and Mama really is your host, but hey, it is what it is, right? But so without further ado, I want to introduce actually the artist who recorded a song that we played in the previous podcast. And it is no other than my brother. I am so honored to have him just grace our show and tell us more about himself and what actually made him who he is today and be authentic in giving us his artistry through music and in particularly this song. So, Napoleon, welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me. This is so awesome. Thank you so much for just taking our time. I love it. I love it. Thank you.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. So, big bro, I gotta ask you first off, how are you?
I am doing just great and more. Like every day is unfolding with new things that need to get accomplished, and I'm discovering more about myself every day. I'm discovering more about the world and the people around me every day. It's an adventure to say the least, and I'm in love with life. So I'm living it. I'm living it.
Ooh, in love with life. Wow.
Mhm. Mhm.
See, here
Mhm.
on this show, what we do, don't know if Mama even told you, but on this show, what we do is we like to actually talk a little bit about our life and the lessons we've learned, and then we try to apply the Word of God to those situations to help others, our listeners, because we go through some stuff, right? But
Yes, we do.
in the previous podcast episode, we talked about storms, right? We played a sample of your song, and this song was so impactful. It was so powerful, and it carried an honest message in that song. But honestly, before we begin to unpack your journey on to creating that song, I really want to get into how the listeners need to know who you are as a person and or as an artist. Is that okay?
That's beautiful. Yes, let's do that. You
Okay.
know,
So now I'm your brother. Obviously, I just said that count continuously, And that's
Yes,
because I'm
sir.
just so pleased to be your little brother.
Oh, I'm pleased to have you. I thank God for having you.
Oh, tear, tear, right? But I grew up, obviously, I grew up with you. And so I already know how you developed to become an artist. But for those who are new to listeners to our podcast, as well as folks who don't really know you and those who do know you, um, please tell them, please, please, please tell them, why did you choose to become an artist?
I chose to become an artist because that is the best authentic way I was able to escape the world that was full of turmoil around me. It gave me peace. It gave me a place of love and comfort, and it allowed me to deal with life. And a lot of people, I discovered that a lot of people find their purpose um, when they're actually going through traumatic things or hard things in life. And so growing up, as you know, like it wasn't always easy. It was not always easy growing up.
Mhm.
But in that space, you have a choice. You can either allow the things in your life to make you a villain, or you can allow those things in your life to make you a superhero. And I chose to allow to make it a superhero. I was going to be a superhero. I wasn't going to become jaded by the things that I saw other kids having and other parents doing and other trips families were taking and other homes and cars that others were buying and living in. I
Mhm.
could have become jaded, but that's not what I did. I became a superhero and I became thankful that I had what I had, that I had the family around me, my brother and my baby sister, and I had my mother. And even though dad wasn't um, more so present most of those years, I still have him living. He was still living. So that in itself was still a blessing. So that's why I became an artist. I found that that was the easiest, most authentic way for me to express everything that I could not at the time um, eloquently
Mhm.
provide through speech. So I just started in the arts. Dancing was the beginning of it. You really don't have to use words when it comes to dancing. It's your body, it's your movements, it's your emotions showing through your body.
Mhm.
And then that translated into picking up multiple instruments in school. I knew early that I've I knew early that music was going to be what I wanted to do in my life. So every single teacher from third grade all the way up through to high school, I took them as my personal professor of music. It just wasn't a class for recorders in third grade.
Mhm.
It was like professional. Like I'm learning how to play what becomes the flute and what starts music in the very beginning of time. And that's the way I saw it. And every year, some years I would keep the same instrument, and then other years I would trade off to another,
Mhm.
picking up the saxophone, the bari sax, the alto sax, and then in high school picking up the trombone,
Mhm.
playing around with the trumpet, playing around with the clarinet and the flute, and then eventually making true musical love with the trombone and the
Yeah.
trigger trombone
Yeah.
and and playing drums and the piano, just learning those things as all of my 12 years of schooling happened, and I took it seriously. So when I graduated, I was 12 years deep into what I knew I wanted to do because I had known it early,
Yeah.
and it was my safe space. Let's just put it that way. I wanted to continue to build a safe space for myself,
Mhm.
and I knew that that's what I wanted to do, was to continue to build a safe space. And after high school, how I got into music professionally was actually on a dare. One of my best friends heard me singing, and they said to me, "Why don't you? I dare you to go ahead and try out for a band."
Mm.
And I was like, okay. And so we played Truth or Dare. And I tried out for a band, which was a rock band. I found it on Craigslist. A lot of
Mhm.
things have happened with Craigslist in life, late these years. So, you know, proceed with caution
Yeah.
for those who decide that they want to try this.
Uh-huh.
But At the time, it was much more safe for me. And so I logged on to Craigslist and I found a band called the Part Time Models. And I auditioned to be their lead front man. Never done that in my life. I learned 3 4 songs. I went into the audition, did the audition, definitely shaking, but it was all based on a dare. It wasn't something I woke up and said, "Ooh, this is what I want to do professionally." But before I got home after the audition, I had a phone call, and I had gotten the part, and that literally catapulted me to where I am right now, 17, almost 17 years later, um, really still enjoying it on a professional level.
Wow. Wow. It
Hmm.
sounds different. For me, when I look at you and as growing up and being in the environment, I get to live a little portion of that, right? So my
Hmm.
viewing of that is totally different from the way you just said it in words. When you look back and I'm sorry, when I hear how you're explaining your journey, I'm sitting here like, man, whoa, okay, I see. It kind of,
Hmm.
I'm trying not to do the what is it? What is it? The Hollywood gaze or stare or whatever. Because when you sit back, you're like, man, this dude really is a superstar.
No, no. I mean, I appreciate it. I appreciate you seeing me that way. But for me personally, I think I see myself as a safe space for everybody, because
Mm,
that's what I really built for myself growing up,
mhm,
was a safe space. It was for me. It wasn't for everybody else. You remember my very first song I wrote? It was like, I woke up and I wrote you a letter. Please forgive me because I spilled chocolate on your sweater. Like, I was writing
oh my
songs
god.
like
Oh my
that.
god.
you know and 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 that was just what a child's viewpoint was. I had not lived life. I had not lived through poverty
Mhm,
poverty in a personal space. I had not lived through heartbreak in a personal space. I had not lived through droughts in my
mhm.
life, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. you know I had not lived those experiences. And now that I have, the ability to put that on paper,
Mhm.
and to express on the inside of myself what I would love to do, or what I feel, or what I would love to say rather, it comes much easier now.
Yeah. So you mentioned childhood instructors, right? I'm sure there are teachers of yours who are still living. Praise the Lord if they are. But who was your favorite instructor and why was that person your favorite instructor?
That's a tough question to answer, because honestly, all of them were, in their own way, in their own
Okay.
way. And I remember all of my teachers, because sometimes you have the same teacher for a few years, so it's not like I went through a bunch and a bunch of teachers.
Mm-hmm.
But the first teacher who ever put something in my hand that said, "Here's music," was Mr. Lemon. And Mr. Lemon also was the first teacher to put me on the piano and say, "Here is how you play Night in Tunisia."
Wow.
And I learned to play that jazz standard, like on the
Wow.
piano, the right way, from a teacher. And a child growing up in poverty from Altgale Gardens, we didn't
Mm-hmm.
have the luxury of having lessons on the side. So when I saw that music was in school, I took it as private lessons, even though it was on the school's time clock.
Yeah.
I really did. So Mr. Lemon taught me the beginning of music and how to appreciate it by playing Carlos Santana, you know,
Wow.
um, and dissecting smooth.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and let's see. And then after Mr. Lemon, it was Mr. Terry Lee Tripp. That man, oh, he was amazing, amazing, because he could pick up a saxophone. My goodness. And just teach, and
Yeah.
and he really pushed me to pick up the saxophone. I picked up the Barry, and because I was such a small child, and
Uh-huh.
and petite and small, yeah. I have to stand up and the berries still be touching the floor. It's like I'm the same size. I was basically the male version of Lisa Simpson. You know, like it's just like this thing is as big as I am, but I was playing it, and my first recital, I played Beauty and the Beast, the theme song from
I
Beauty and the Beast,
remember that. Yeah, I remember
and
that.
then after Mr. Terry Lee Tritt, then then I also had in high school Mr. Lemon. I mean, not Mr. Lemon, Mr. Malik, Mr. Joe Malik, and I it's I speechless,
Yeah,
speechless.
yeah.
So if I would say if I would have to pick, if I would have to pick any, it would definitely be Mr. Joe Malik because so many other things in my life were starting to wake up. This is just natural, you know. I'm becoming a young man. My memories opening up. My emotions are opening up. I'm adulting here. I'm learning it. I'm teening up here, and in those 4 years, there was a moment in my life how, and you know this, like growing up in grammar school, you know, we had practically a different grammar school every 2 years, and sometimes every year was a different grammar school. So it was kind of tough. But however, we returned back to some of the other schools again. You know, like
Hmm.
we went to Wendell Smith. You know,
Yeah.
maybe three times in 8 years of grammar school. You know, um, however, you know, mom was making sure that we had a physical safe space, you know, and to keep ourselves away from stress and the streets, I
Hmm.
created an emotional, mental safe space, and that's where I found it in music. And so when Mr. Joe Malik came into my life in high school, freshman year at Thornton Fractional North in Calumet City,
Wait, take some time.
you
We
know,
gotta. Whoop, whoop.
woo woo, right, woo woo, TFN, woo
Be
woo, like
yours.
yeah, all day, every day, all day, every day, and he dropped so many great lessons and anecdotes
Hmm.
into me that he'll I can never thank him enough. I could really honestly never thank him enough, and um and
You know
truthfully,
which. I'm sorry. You know what which um antidote, if I could say it like that, if I could take that word from you, that that sticks in my mind, and I actually use it day to day to day. Pace,
yes sir.
positive attitude, superior effort. PASE. Pace. I
And
can't think. Yeah.
when you have it, there's nothing that you can't do.
Hmm.
There's nothing that you can't do if you go into it with a positive attitude and you give superior effort. Not a little bit, not halfway, but your best. That's superior. When you give your best, when you do everything you need to do in that effort, what is it you can't achieve? Even if you have to pick yourself up again, you dust yourself off because
Hmm.
that's a positive attitude. A positive attitude doesn't say give up. A positive attitude says, okay, I'm going to learn from this so that I can attack it and I can face it and I'll be able to pass it. And that's when you start saying, oh, that's my superior effort, not giving up.
Yeah.
So it's a, you know, that right there
Hmm.
has led me into some spaces and some places in my own personal life that I just could never thank him enough for,
Hmm.
especially coming from a, a very tough and hard and rough childhood to finally find that father voice
Yeah.
in the school.
Yeah.
And so hands up, you know, like my love to every single music teacher out there, because you definitely are changing the world. You
Hmm.
definitely are changing the world because every single child that comes through that classroom, I understand it now when teachers say, or when we say, like, they really do mold the future.
Yeah.
They really do.
Yeah. They do. They really, really do. I remember when sometimes during lunch hour. Now, see, here's the thing. You have always been the healthier side of me and yourself. Now, for those who don't know, me and my brother, we are 10 months apart. Ooh,
Yes, sir.
we're
Yes,
not going
sir.
there, but ooh.
Ooh, oh, mama. Oh, mama. Oh, daddy. Especially so,
Okay.
daddy. But oh, mama. Oh, daddy.
Right, right. But we're 10 months apart, so we shared the same grade. And at times we shared the same clothes. And it was just a good time growing up with each other. And so a lot of the
Same
things that,
teachers.
yeah, same teachers. A lot of the things that Napoleon is sharing, I had, like I said, I got a chance to actually grow up with him in this. So it comes across as a different perspective hearing him now speak about it versus actually living through it. Those are two different experiences that I'm like, wow, you know? But
Mhm.
I remember when it would be lunchtime, and there are times when I would go, I would be the one to go to the cafeteria and go get me some lunch. I was hungry, y'all.
You did. You did.
And listen, I'm a cookie monster, so at lunch they had they had cookies and they had a I'm sorry, they had a cookie bar and they had a an ice cream bar, but it was like Greek yogurt. So I will have that for my lunch sometimes. But that's besides the point. Napoleon actually would sometimes skip the lunchroom and go into the band room and begin to learn how to record music. And
Yes.
so it you could see from me saying that, you could see how passionate he was, even it carried even through in teenage years. He began to learn the systems at that time. Do you
Yes.
remember what the system was and how difficult or the learning journey you took on that?
Garage band.
Mm.
Garage band, because at the time, well, still now, Apple has been such a integral part in a creator's world now. Just for the entire platform of creators, Apple is just amazing. Bar none, bar none. And in high school, there were an Apple computer and a MIDI controller keyboard, a pair of headphones, and that is exactly what I would do. I would skip out on lunch a lot, a lot. And sometimes I would actually go down to the lunchroom because, and yes, okay, Gregory was a cookie monster. And yes, Gregory,
And still am.
and Gregory, and Gregory did do the Greek yogurt. But there was also a salad bar. And I would
What? Now, see, wait a
create my,
minute. Pause. Pause. Reflect. Why you got to bring up the salad bar?
because you
That ain't
skipped
even
it,
right.
but I did. I didn't. I went right to it. I went right to it, and I would fix my little salad. I fix my little salad, and then you look at the cafeteria monitor.
Mhm.
I'm like, hey, I'm going to the band room, and sometimes I'd be like, yeah, I have to go study for a test. I didn't have to go study for no test. I just wanted to have my salad, and then go just go to the bedroom and be able to eat the salad while I'm still like working on music in the bedroom. That's what I would honestly do. So it's not like I would always go hungry, but if they didn't have the salad bar, yeah, I would probably most likely go hungry. But that's what I would do: salad and pizza. You remember those school pizzas?
Yeah.
Nah,
Oh, do you
those.
remember when they had Domino's pizza?
Oh, oh
Uh-huh.
man,
Uh-huh.
oh.
Nom,
But
nom,
that
nom, nom.
square, that big square slice pizza.
Oh,
You
yes,
know,
yes, yes, yes.
the one with the little bitty
Yeah,
sausages on it.
yeah.
That was like
Or
currency in high school.
the pulled pork bar. Oh wait, no, you don't know. That's me. I know about that. You don't know about
Yeah.
that.
I'm done.
See y'all? Exactly. He's in the band room and I'm at the
Yeah,
table.
right. I tell you. But I just loved it. I just really loved it, and that's where I would be. I found my safety there. And now that I'm older, I find that that safe space that I have created for myself has become such a firm foundation. And when you get older and you get out of high school and you start experiencing the world as an adult, you start noticing that there are other people who have similar issues that you do. Self-doubt, lack of self-worth, and some people just don't, but everybody don't have it all together. So you find those people who don't You find those people who have what you don't have and you connect. But in the interim of doing that, which is what growth is, in the interim, you also bump into people who are just like you. And you start to see, oh my gosh, like, wow, you have a little self-doubt. Oh, I have a little self-doubt. Oh, you're having a little hard time with reading or math or whatever it may be, connecting with other people. Oh, you know what? I'm a little introspective too. I'm a little introverted as well. And you find those things. And so um, in that, I discovered a safe space was something that I could provide
Mm-hmm.
in a safe way, which is music, to everyone else, and which is what I ask God to help me do all the time. And that is to help me. I create music because it allows me to connect the world.
Mm.
Because that's exactly what we need. We need connectors. We need to be connected. We need one another. We need one another. Even on the journey to Calvary, Jesus didn't go by himself. Now, he did take a bunch of steps all on his own, carrying that cross. But there was somebody later named Simon who picked up that cross and carried it the rest of the way. And so in life, we learn not only in that beautiful example, but we also see it when God told Noah to build the ark and put them in there two by two.
Mm-hmm.
You go through this life with somebody else. And if it's not a physical somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
it's a spiritual somebody else. But you don't go through it alone. And if you're walking through it physically in life by yourself, you always got Jesus. So you're not by yourself. It's
Mm.
two by two. It's two by two or ever expounding.
Yes. Yes. And you're absolutely correct. You do. You you're gonna there are people who are, or not people, we are, excuse me, we are a people who are going to go through trials and tribulations in our journey of life. You start to find the connections of 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 your who has your positives and who has your negatives, and or vice versa. Maybe your positives can actually charge to their negatives. You
Your
know,
yin to your yang.
right? We actually end up finding people like the guy who helped Jesus, Simon of Cyrene, right?
Yes,
We actually
yes.
start finding people like that to help us carry our burdens and I, don't, I shouldn't say burdens. I'll say our gifts, our abilities to take us to that next level, right?
Hmm.
And God has put people on this planet for that cause, for that reason. We're all interwoven and interconnected some way, somehow. You know,
Hmm.
it's nothing.
Hmm.
Nothing is done by happenstance. You know,
Everything that God did is because it's based upon relationship and the intimacy thereof.
correct, correct.
Everything,
Yes.
everything.
Hmm.
He didn't create us because he needed to create us.
Right.
He created us because he wanted the relationship and the intimacy and he wanted it to be a choice. And
Yes.
that's what makes it even more beautiful is when you choose him.
Yes. Yes.
And that's what this is about. So when we're sitting there, we're somehow connected to the person that's riding on the bus next to us.
Correct.
We're somehow connected to the person who's in the car on the expressway who's getting upset and we hear them hitting their horn because of the traffic. Like we're connected to them. Like in some type of way. We're connected to the person and the homeless man that's on the bus stop. We're connected. We're connected to the rich man on the other side of the city living in the mansion.
Right.
It's
Right.
about relationship. That's what
Hmm.
this is about. It really, really is. It's about relationship between one another and each one to God.
Yes. Yes, indeed. So in we're talking about relationship and relating to one another, when you are um, when you are recording and you're creating songs and you are in that moment, how is it that you actually come into that mindset to be relatable to your fans, because I'm sure you gathered fans along the way. So how do you actually become relatable in that moment?
Very simple. Be yourself. You can't talk about, you can't write about. I mean, okay, you can do anything. Let me take that back. You can do anything, but the in order to stay true to your authentic self, which is honestly the highest frequency we could ever give off in this world, is
Mhm.
authenticity. If you want to stay authentic, and which is what I want to do, I can't, I choose not to write outside of my own experiences.
Ooh, I want to expound on that a little, just a little bit. Just give me a little
Hmm.
bit more of that. Because there's so many people out here, I mean, artists, who are writing to experiences that they have never, ever had, right? And you can actually tell that. You can tell that in their artistry, in their writing. And what they don't understand is that you may not have lived that experience, but if you're not careful, you're actually recording that experience, and you are now preparing yourself to live that experience that you're saying out of your mouth. Because the Bible does tell us what? Your words have life. The tongue has the power of life and death. So you have to
Hmm.
be careful what you're saying, let alone recording. So
Yes.
to actually be recording what you're not experiencing is dangerous.
To some degree, true. I agree with that. To some degree, it
Hmm.
is very dangerous. Because you never know what it took for someone to say I got a lot of money.
Hmm. Exactly.
You
Exactly.
never know. You never know what it took for someone else to say that they have a lot of money, and to say that you may actually be causing that same road upon yourself instead of just being thankful that you got money now and how much you have. You're being a great steward over it the best way you possibly can. And
Yeah.
then God blesses that. God blesses that, and then you can think about Him blessing it because you did right with it
Yes.
versus looking at someone else and saying I want that, because then you're asking to go through what they went through, and you don't know if they actually went through that and gave up a relative. You have to be careful. So I choose not to write about things that I have not experienced,
Hmm.
and I choose to write about things that I'm experiencing.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
if I choose to write something that has to deal with like the future, I am definitely careful about what that is, because that's manifestation. Life, your words can create a world for you. And so you have to be careful with that. And so I just choose to stay in the safe space, my space, not the
Mm.
website, but mine. I choose to stay in my own space when it comes to my art, because it's the closest thing to my truth in this life. And if those who hear it, they see it and they feel it, this is where authenticity is the most powerful frequency, because as long as you're as authentic as possible, someone who's never been through what you're going through can
Hmm.
become empathetic and sympathetic to your situation and get connected to you, just because you're being real and honest.
Yeah.
So that's what I choose to do. And I do have this one specific amazing um, writer. Took a writing class, and I am definitely going to put her name here. Her name is Sue DeMel. She's at the Old Town School of Folk Music in Chicago. I,
Okay.
I took a writing class one time. One time. I took a writing class with her one time. That's the only private lesson I've ever taken in my life. And it was one time, and her class dealt with, it was one on one, and her class dealt with being more honest in your lyrics and translating that through your voice.
Mm.
And in that room, I took one class, and once again, it's like dye in water. you know Give me one drop and I will never be the same. Put one drop of blue in a clear glass of water, and it's
Yeah.
no longer clear, it's blue. And so that's what that was for me with her. So I love her forever because she really dropped so many beautiful things into my mind and into my working habits in that one lesson that I take with me, and I've learned to expound upon and grow and discover other things that I'd like to do for myself based off of her unlocking the door to that world.
Wow.
So I really love her because one of the main things she said is be honest.
Mm,
Honesty. Honesty is the most amazing thing. And nobody can actually be honest if you're not first authentic.
there you go. That's it. That is the key. I hear that. I hear it loud and clear. But when you're now you said drop, right? So I'm thinking in my head, I wonder if he remembers how many albums he self-recorded. Can
No.
you think of a number? How many albums you recorded
Okay.
over the
Let's
past, well, since you've got out of high school? Since you've got out of high school, how
It's,
many?
since I've gotten out of high school, I think I've recorded 4 CDs, I believe, maybe 4 or 5, but
Okay.
I think more 4. Um, and then there were a bunch of singles. I've always
Yeah.
put out a bunch of singles because self doubt has always been like, and then you feel good about yourself because you've been beating yourself up enough where you're like, you know what, I'm giving myself a break. And so I would give myself like, this is good enough. I'll put this out right now. I'm done. I'm done thinking that I'm not satisfactory.
Yeah.
And so that would hold me back from ever releasing a real full length album. But I think I've actually, come to think of it, I think I've actually released a total of about 3 EPs off record. But now I am on the verge and the cliff of releasing my first album. And I am really excited after 17 years of music.
Wow.
I'm finally going to release an album.
Wait. Don't rush it. Don't rush it. Don't rush it because we have
Okay,
so
okay,
much more to unpack. And
okay.
I want to get there. I want to get to that. But many don't know that you were a nominee for an award show,
Yes.
right? So many
Yeah.
don't know that. And so many other people don't even know that you even got you were honored to have a coin by a mayor. Is that
That's
correct?
correct. Yes,
See,
yes, it is.
there's so much more accolades to you. Um, but for the do you remember the song that you were nominated for, and what was that award nomination?
The song was it was an EP that I put together, and it was called Phase Two, and it was nominated for Best New Entertainer at the Chicago Music Awards in 2010. It made me feel like I got a nod from the industry and my peers that said to me, "You know what? You're doing something pretty good. Keep
Mm.
on going. Don't give up. Don't keep going. Keep pushing." And I wasn't mad with who I lost to. I lost to Jeremiah. I ain't even mad because I was still jamming to the song on the radio. I was like, "Hey," I was like, "Come on." Like I lost to Jeremiah, and we took a photo that night, which I hold dear to me,
Mm.
because it's still such a beautiful moment to have to have that moment to stand there and take a picture with him. I presented best reggae album that night, so I was a presenter um, at the award show, um, and then years later, performing with another cover band, I was coined by a mayor after the show, Mayor Mark Krantz, and it oh, what a moment! What a moment! And it was just such a beautiful time. It was
Mhm.
just such a beautiful time.
Wow, yeah, I can imagine. I can totally imagine. And so when getting these awards or being honored and even having nomination, um, does this would you say? that that is that makes you a difference between an entertainer, a performer, and a singer, or what like how would you describe the three?
A singer, an entertainer, and a performer. Okay. A singer, to me personally, like are the greats. An example, a Mariah Carey. You know, they don't Mariah doesn't have to stand up there and dance and bust a sweat any other way but her vocal cords
Mm,
because she could sing down a house
mm-hmm,
and they're I mean amazing. You
mm,
know, there are singers that are that way, and then you have artists who have that ability to create. In order to be an artist, Confucius states something when it comes to being an artist, and it's three things. Art must have a level of intricacy, a level of difficulty. It has to show the introspection of the human experience. So it has to, show you some type of level of human experience in it. And
mm-hmm,
then it also has to have number three, which is a reaction. And if anything that's created with a level of intricacy that shows you the way of life in humanity, and it pulls a reaction, it's considered art, and that makes you an artist. Now there's different levels of that, obviously,
mm-hmm.
but if you can do that, then you're an artist. But what makes a person an entertainer to me, which I consider myself, is an individual that's Prince, that's Michael Jackson, that's a James Brown. You know, those are entertainers. They have a full package. They can create from nothing an entire world that not only just provides the the blackness of their the dark place of their mind where they bring all this light and
Mm-hmm.
illumination mentally, but they can touch thousands of people, millions and millions and millions of people with what they do, with how they create. And then when they're up on stage, who doesn't want to see Michael Jackson,
Right.
or who didn't want to see Michael Jackson and probably still want to see Michael Jackson, but it's very difficult to do that now.
Okay.
But
Please
like,
don't. Please don't.
and and then who didn't want to see or be in the entourage of Prince because of his brilliance in the studio and his music and how he just really embodied everything beautiful
Yeah.
and honest,
Yeah.
and intellectual. And then who didn't want to be somebody who was connected to James Brown? I mean, that man, he's the reason why people do splits on stage and sweat profusely
Yeah.
like I do.
I was gonna say,
It's
yeah,
what
you can do some dance moves, bro. Yeah, I've seen you.
I appreciate.
I call them church shoes. He have church shoes on, y'all, and he be up
No,
there splitting
no, he
and
did.
everything, and doing all the
No, he did.
moonwalks and doing the
No,
James
he
Brown
didn't.
dance.
No, he did. He said, "I got church shoes." He said, "I got church shoes." Mm-mm. They some expensive ones though. I tell you that merch.
Okay.
Okay, but but hey, I ain't worried with it. I ain't worried with it. I'll say they church shoes. It ain't a bad thing because you want to know. Everywhere I go, I would hope that God has put my steps there. That's exactly what David said. He
Yeah.
said, "Show me teach me your way. Show what is it? He said, teach me your ways and show me thy pathways."
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that I am taking the right steps in my
Hmm.
church shoes on the right paths,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like this is my journey, and this is where God has placed me. And wherever I go, people understand who I serve. I hide him before no one.
Yeah. And I gotta ask, is that your motivation? Is God your motivation to continue on this journey?
Always, because I don't want to do it without him.
Mm,
I didn't even need a beat to answer that question. I know that is exactly why I was created. I was created to be in this place. The Bible says, "Go out into the highways and the byways.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. It's not just in the church. It's not just from the pulpit. It's not just from the congregation. It's also on those side streets. It's also in the clubs. It's also in the alleys. It's
Yeah.
also behind the buildings. We there are soldiers in every place for God.
Yes.
There are.
Hmm.
And we all don't wear the same exact painted armor, but
Hmm.
we all have the armor. We all walking around with the shield of faith and the breastplate of righteousness and the helmet of salvation and the belt of truth and our
Yeah.
feet shod with the preparation of the gospel because that's my church shoes. But what I'm trying to say is what I'm trying to say is we're all dressed in that generalized armor and we're everywhere. And that's exactly what's happening right now. And so I feel like at this present point, God has placed me in a byway. So yes, I am in the clubs and I am in the venues where they serve liquor and wine. It's not a bad thing. And I have to say, I don't see individuals having fights and breaking out in the venues that I perform in because I go with God. That's number one. And number two, I prove love on stage, and
Yeah.
God is love.
Yes, he
So
is.
there's no fight. There's no fighting where I'm at. That's not what happens there. There's patience, there's love, there's kindness, there's understanding, there's a togetherness that happens in that room. Thankfully,
That's
that
good.
hasn't happened in 17 years of me performing. I have never seen a fight in a bar,
That's
and
good.
that's because I don't have a problem saying I love Jesus.
Yes. Yes. Declare it out there. He did say, if you are ashamed to um, say me or own me, I will be ashamed to own and say, I know you and own you.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. That's my way of saying it. That's the way I feel. That's the way I think about it when I read that scripture. But
Hmm.
Um, so let's get to this song. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to talk about it. Why the song? Why did you choose to write a song about storms? And I when I heard it, I'm like, man, it's so powerful. It's so good. It's so yummy. Oh, so what made you actually want to write a song about that?
The experience of my life I was going through. I was in a storm,
Mm,
and I felt like I heard a writer once say this, and it's not a writer, I'll be specific. I heard Beyonce say this. She said, everybody was talking negative. I don't have a good Beyonce impersonation,
no.
but she said in one of her interviews, everybody was talking negative about us. Everybody was beating us down. Everybody was saying that we were men haters and all these other things. And but what I wanted to do is I wanted to write us out of that situation. And so I wrote the what is it, Survivor, the Charlie's Angels theme, and I wrote us out of that place, and that stuck with me. That stuck with me. How you could write yourself out of a situation, and so I decided that I was going to look at where I was in life. There were a lot of things going on that I knew were a storm, and if I allowed it, it would definitely rip me apart.
Mm,
It would definitely, if I allowed it, it would definitely rip me apart. And I didn't want that to happen. And so what I decided to do was just study more and more about how to face life when you're going through hard times. And like things, uh, and what I did was I studied what it meant to actually go through things and hard, to go through things hard in life, and
mm,
and learn from it and grow from it, accept it, and then use it as a teaching tool. And one thing that I remember Grandma saying, and I love Grandma's sayings, but she would say, "Why are you hanging out with the chickens when you should be flying with the eagles?" And when I was writing, I knew that I wanted the song to sound like a storm. I knew that I wanted it to be intricate, and not so much intricate, but I knew that I wanted it to be minor,
mhm,
and which is a lot more emotional, the
yeah.
color of a chord, and I knew that I wanted to involve eagles, and so that's when the the truth of the song started to really bring forth in me that writing out of my situation. And then I started learning that eagles don't stay in a storm. They fly above it. They see it coming and they arc above it.
Yeah.
And they don't pay it any mind. And
Mm.
so I felt like human nature should be the exact same thing because we would choose to, when you see something difficult in life and when you're going through hard times, the first thing to do is some of us basically freeze. What is it? It's the freeze, fight, or flee.
Yes. Flee,
You
fight,
know, or freeze.
freeze.
Yeah, it's one of those three. It's you either fight, you freeze, or you run away, and that's the flee. But
Super flee.
okay, I chose to go above it. That's the
Mm.
other option.
Yeah.
You don't have to freeze, you don't have to fight, you don't have to flee. You could just go above it. You could rise above it. That's the other option. And that's when you decide that you're no longer a chicken. You're not a rooster, you're an eagle.
Mm.
And you fly above the storms because that is an option. Because as
Absolutely.
an adult, and as a not only as an adult, but as humans, we have the right to create our choices.
Mm-hmm.
Even if life presents us with choices, you still have a choice to create another one. So that's the choice. The choice is to rise above it. And so that's what the song was all about. And after I finished writing the song, and it was really great, every technician, the technician that I heard, well, the technician that I used for the song, um, really, really loved it a lot. And I sat with the song for a while. I believe in doing that. I believe in making a song and then sitting with it for a moment and listening to it and letting it minister to me for a moment so that way I can see exactly what needs to happen to it so it's elevated even more.
Yeah.
Because then I can listen back to it and go, oh, you know what? Let me add this or let me take this out or, raise this up. Or you can make those changes by just letting it sit for a second.
Yeah.
And it's like a stew.
Mm.
A stew is always a stew is always a crock pot. A crock
Mm-hmm.
pot is always better when you let it sit for a while.
So
And so
what
that's
made
what I
you
did.
want to put mama in it, you know? She comes in and a part of the song she's spitting some bars. I shouldn't say spit some bars, but she's giving her gift that God has given to her, and that is to evangelize. She's an ordained minister, and so she's giving her take on a storm. And so, what made you want to include her into your art?
Because personally, now we go back to my safe space. When I'm going through a lot of things in life and I don't have anybody to talk to, she is my best friend. And I
Oh,
felt she's my best friend. And I felt
oh,
like
you got
I
to say it.
she my
So, go
she
ahead,
my
say
best friend. She my she my best friend.
it. Don't get us,
And
Chris.
she my bestie. She my bestie.
Oh,
And I tell you like I tell you like when I did that and I was making the song after I finished listening to it and I felt like there was nothing more that I needed to give to the song, that I serviced it the best way that I felt it should be, that the sonics were done and the music was done. I felt like there was still yet more that needed to be said about that moment because like it is to me, like I want people to feel something when they listen to my music. And so I felt like instead of singing these things, it needs to be a voice talking. And when I thought about that after listening to the first couple of cuts of the song, I think it was like about round three of listening to it again after I went back in the studio after the third time. In the third mix after it, I was like, okay, I hear a voice. And this is what the voice is telling me. And you know what? This voice, come to think about it, sounds like my mama. Hold up. And so I decided to call her and I asked her and she obliged me without a second thought. And that made me happy because and it was just a special moment because it was just a full package wrapped up in one. I got the message that I've been told by her in a song forever. And now not only do I have it in a song forever, but now I can share that message to the world. So now they have it forever. So for those
Mhm.
who don't have a mom like I do,
Yeah.
one that you can call and really infuse God into your life and pick you up when you feel down and encourage you when you feel, you're less than, or lift, like put you back together again when you feel broken. This is that opportunity where that moment was that for me. And so that's why I called her. I told her what the song was about, and then I was like, Mom, I need you to let it go, preach to the world, let them know. And she did. She definitely did. And so with that being said, I thank you and your platform for having that opportunity, like you following God in your life and the road that He's leading you down.
Mhm.
It it allowed me to actually open up and be even more creative in my art. Your platform allowed me to do that because me calling her, she's like, "Well, I don't have any recording equipment. Gregory do." You know,
Oh, so we just
and
gonna
so
offer me up. Okay.
totally, total sacrifice. So, I'm like, Gregory has it. Why don't you just do that? And I appreciate you for just recording her 10-minute sermon. And I
Mhm.
just took bits and pieces of those moments. I could not get everything she was saying. And
Yeah.
I listened to that sermon so many times on my own. And I'm like, oh, but this part, so the artist started coming out in me when I started cutting and pasting things.
Yeah.
But there's so much more in her message that just is so yummy and so good
Yeah.
that you just got to listen to the message. You got to listen to your pod. Thank you for your podcast and your platform because it allowed me to pull and create an even more powerful art.
You are so welcome. And yeah, you it is a deeper, or I should say, it's a lot more that she unpacked, and that she brings the power of God in her message about storms. And it's the previous episode, episode 3, in our series of podcasts, or episodes of podcasts. So you all got to go check that out. You have to. But I have to say to you, Napoleon, thank you, big bro, for actually taking the time to ask her to be a part of your art. And I'll say it like most people who I have encountered, and I let them talk to her, and she counseled them, or she made them laugh, and they actually came back and said, Greg, thank you for sharing your mom with us. And so
Mhm.
that warms my heart. And what you're saying is so true. There's so many who don't have a mom like ours. Matter of fact, nobody has a mom like ours, right? Who's
True.
one of a kind, you know.
One.
And so thank you for sharing your gift and allowing her to share her gift to the world. So thank you for sharing our mom.
Oh, yay.
Right? Yay. Aww. So, what's next for you? What's next for the artist? Now you can put your art hat back on. You can go back to being, professional. You know what I'm saying?
uh, yeah.
So, what is next for Napoleon?
There are so many things in the pipeline at the current moment. The rest of this year, later on this month, I will be having a really cool moment with a radio station,
Oh wow.
and I'm really excited about that. After 17 years, I really see God moving, and so I'll see some things. You'll be hearing me, on some radio stations, and I I will be performing a lot in the Michiana area, uh, which is a goal at this present moment. I have a lot of fans there. I have a lot of fans in Iowa too. So I'm looking forward to going out to Iowa and Fargo, um,
Wow.
Arkansas,
Mhm.
and Michigan and Indiana, Ohio. Obviously, I love my Chicago.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I will be in Chicago, and there are a lot of future things that I'll be doing. So it's a lot of shows, and most importantly, this upcoming album. And I am really excited about it. It is it's a true body of art that I am creating, and I am so excited, and I just can't wait for everybody to hear it. It is truly amazing. If you loved "Won't Stop Me," trust me, you are going to be completely enthralled with this album.
Wow. And I can't wait to hear it. Oh my God. After listening to Won't Stop Me and playing it, I play it over and over. I play it in my car. It is an amazing art. And I keep calling it art because it is just that special. It's not just a regular song. It's art. It is complete art. So yes, I'm excited. I know the listeners are excited because I know, yeah, I'm going to go back to that episode. Yeah, I know y'all listened to the song, a little bit of it, but I need y'all to go and get that song and be on the lookout for his album that is on the way. It's on the way.
Yes, we still cooking. Let me cook.
Okay.
Let me cook. That's what the youngins say. Let me cook for a minute. I'm still cooking. I got a bunch of side dishes that are quite delicious that could be taken as entrees.
Okay.
However, it's not a full course meal just yet.
Okay, KFC.
Uh-uh. I don't even know why why? How are
I
we
told
talking
y'all.
about barbecue chicken?
See, I told y'all he was at the band room and I was at the table. Look, it
Ew.
just is what it is.
Mm-mm.
so
Mm-mm.
so can you tell everybody um where they can follow you for your future events to actually come out and see you perform and give that great entertaining show.
You can find me at www.lepolionmusic.com. You spell it like a leopard and a lion. So it's Lepo lion, Lion, music.com. So lepolionmusic.com. And I post everything on there. I post pictures, I post videos, I post upcoming events. There's a calendar section that you can just click on and see upcoming shows where I'll be performing at a city near you. We can have a good time. Come out, peace, love, and be wild.
Okay now. Okay. Peace, love, and be wild. In
I can't
Jesus'
take
name.
that.
No.
Okay, now I can take it because that ain't what happened when he would say it. But that's something that I definitely take with me, and it comes from Prince. Prince used to say that to everybody. He used to say peace, love, and be wild. But I'm gonna have to add peace, love, and be wild in Jesus' name. I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to add that. Now they know that that's Napoleon. That's Napoleon right there. Peace, love, and be wild in Jesus' name.
Well, so at the end of towards the ending of our show, on this podcast, what we do, Mom likes to give a little special message to the listeners. So, what special message would you like to deliver to our listeners?
Based on the song that was just sent, based on the song that we hear now called "Won't Stop Me," it comes based off of the storms in life that you're going through. And I really want you to understand that storms and trials and tribulations in life only come because they invite intimacy. They invite intimacy with God. And that's why it's there. So when you hear the song and whatever you're going through, just talk to God about it and understand that He's got you on that road for a specific reason, for a purpose, to get to a destiny that He's designed even before you were born. So don't give up because you see the storm clouds, and don't give in because you can't see straight because the rain is just too heavy. All you got to do is just listen to His voice and trust it and start taking those steps. Just don't give in. Don't give up. You'll win. Nothing is going to stop you. And that's what you have to remember. When you're going through these things and those things happen in life, trials and tribulations, they call for intimacy. So get intimate with God and trust His designed destiny for your life. It don't look like everybody else's because it's not everybody else's. It's yours.